dust rolled across the open Wyoming plains like slow-moving ghosts when Luke Harwood realized something was wrong. The stagecoach from Cheyenne was 3 hours late. Something that almost never happened. He stood outside the small wooden station, the wind tugging at his hat as worry tightened inside his chest. She was supposed to be on that coach. Evelyn Grace Bennett, his mail-order bride. Not a stranger, at least not entirely. They had exchanged letters for 7 months. Letters filled with gentle hopes, small jokes, quiet dreams. She wanted a simple life far from the noise of Boston. He wanted someone who saw more than the scars he carried from the frontier. Someone who believed the West wasn't just dust and danger, but a place where two people could build something honest. But now, she hadn't arrived. Luke checked the horizon again. Nothing but wind-bent sagebrush and a sky so big it swallowed a manhole. The station master stepped out, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Should have been here by noon," he muttered. "If it ain't showing by sundown." Something's wrong. Luke's jaw tightened. Something was wrong. He felt it deep in his bones. The same instinct that had kept him alive in gunfights and stampedes. He saddled his horse Shadow and started riding east along the coach trail. The sun dipped lower, painting everything gold. Coyotes yipped in the distance. The trail was quiet. Too quiet. 2 miles out, his horse snorted and stopped. Luke spotted something scattered in the sagebrush. Fabric, wood, broken wheels. His pulse jumped. He dismounted fast. The wreckage stretched across the ground. Splintered wagon pieces, torn luggage, and deep drag marks carved into the dirt. The stagecoach hadn't just crashed. It had been attacked outlaws, or worse, bandits who targeted traveling women. Luke swallowed hard and forced himself to move slowly, scanning the ground like a tracker. He found blood by the wheel, a small glove torn at the fingers, a woman's boot print light enough to belong to Evelyn. Then his heart stopped. Near a fallen trunk half hidden by sagebrush lay a woman. Her dress was torn, her skin dust-coated, her breathing so faint he couldn't see her chest rise. Luke dropped to his knees. "Evelyn. Evelyn, can you hear me?" Her lips trembled, barely moving. "Luke." The sound of his name in her soft, broken voice carved through him like a knife. She had made it. She had fought to survive. "Easy," he whispered. "You're safe now. I'm here." He gently lifted her head. Her blonde hair was tangled with dirt. Her cheek bruised deep purple. Her pulse was weak but steady. She was alive, just barely. He wrapped his coat around her trembling body and lifted her against his chest. "You hold on, sweetheart. I didn't wait 7 months just to lose you today." Her fingers curled weakly against his shirt. "I tried to get help." Her voice was thin as thread. "They took the driver, the luggage. I ran until I fell." Luke's jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Whoever did this wasn't far, and they were going to pay. But first, Evelyn needed warmth, medicine, and water. He placed her onto Shadow, climbed up behind her, and held her close as he rode toward his ranch. Every bump in the trail made her worse in pain. She shivered violently, leaning against him, trying to stay conscious. At last, the lights of the Harwood Ranch came into view, lamps glowing in the deepening dusk. Luke carried her inside, calling for Maggie, the ranch housekeeper. "Oh, Lord above," Maggie gasped. "Who did this to the poor child?" "No idea," Luke answered, breath shaking. "Help me fix it first, then I'll find out." Maggie heated water, stitched Evelyn's cuts, and wrapped bandages around her ribs. Luke stayed close the whole time, refusing to step back even an inch. At one point, Evelyn opened her eyes again, blue, tired, full of pain. "You came for me," she whispered. He took her hand gently. course I did. I didn't think you'd wait, she breathed. Most men wouldn't. Luke shook his head slowly. Then you never knew the kind of man I am. Her lips curved in the faintest smile before sleep claimed her. Hours passed. Luke sat by her bedside, watching her chest rise and fall. The storm of worry inside him slowly settled, replaced by a fierce protective fire. Someone had attacked her stagecoach. Someone had left her in the dirt to die. And someone out there still believed they'd gotten away with it. Luke Harwood had no intention of letting that happen. But as the night grew deeper, he realized something new. Something he hadn't expected. Evelyn wasn't just a mail orderer bride anymore. She was someone he already cared about more than he should. Someone he was ready to fight for, bleed for, kill for if he had to. He reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. "I'll keep you safe," he whispered. "No matter what." Outside, thunder growled low across the plains. A storm was coming. One Luke was ready to meet, because the men who hurt Evelyn weren't done, and neither was he. The storm rolled in just after midnight, grumbling across the Wyoming plains like an angry beast. Rain struck the roof of the Harwood ranch, steady and cold. Inside Evelyn's room, the soft lamplight flickered across her sleeping face, casting shadows that made Luke's heart ache. She looked so fragile, so breakable, so deeply wronged. Luke stood by the window, fists clenched at his sides, watching the lightning burst along the far hills. Somewhere out there, men were laughing, drinking, wiping blood off their knives, thinking no one would come after them. They were wrong, very wrong. Maggie appeared quietly in the doorway. "You need rest, Luke," she whispered. He didn't turn around. "Not until I know she'll live." "She's strong," Maggie assured him. "Stronger than she looks. But she'll need days to heal, maybe weeks." Luke closed his eyes for a moment. He could almost hear Evelyn's faint voice from earlier. "You came for me." Damn right he had. And he'd keep coming. Maggie placed a hand on his arm. "You're thinking of going after them, aren't you?" Luke finally turned. His eyes were hard. "I'm not thinking, Maggie. I am going." "Then at least wait until sunup," she said gently. "You riding out in this storm won't help no one." He hesitated, jaw tight, then gave a small nod. One night, just one, then hell would break loose. The sun wasn't fully up when Luke saddled his horse. The sky was still purple, the grass wet with rain. He checked his guns, 2 Colts and a rifle, and slipped a hunting knife into his boot. As he mounted Shadow, Maggie came out onto the porch with a bundle of food and a grave expression. "You bring that girl justice, you hear?" she said softly. Luke met her eyes. "I'll bring her more than that." Then he rode. The trail from the wreckage was easier to follow after the rain. The bandits had left deep tracks. 3 horses, 1 mule, heading south toward the rocky ridges near Elk Valley, a place known for thieves, drifters, and men who didn't like the law. By noon, Luke found more signs: discarded shells, broken branches, and blackened boot prints. "They're close," he muttered under his breath. Shadow snorted nervously. Luke soothed the horse with a pat. "It's all right, boy. We've faced worse." But even as he spoke, he knew this wasn't like the battles he'd fought before. This wasn't about land or cattle or pride. This was personal. The trail led to an abandoned mining town. Half-broken shacks, collapsed roofs, dust swirling between empty doorways. Luke slowed his horse, scanning every shadow, every crack. A noise echoed from inside one of the
cabins stood ahead. A harsh laugh echoed, followed by the clink of glass bottles. Luke dismounted without a sound. He tied Shadow to a post and moved forward, steps measured, breathing controlled. Voices drifted out of the shack. Should have grabbed the girl. She was worth something. Hey, she ran too damn fast. Figured she'd bleed out anyway. And that coach driver wouldn't shut up. Didn't for long. Luke's blood turned to ice. His hand slid to his gun. Then, a floorboard creaked behind him. Luke spun just as a man lunged with a knife. He ducked, seized the attacker's wrist, twisted hard. The blade fell. Luke drove a punch into the man's jaw, sending him crashing into the dirt. Another bandit burst from the shack, shotgun raised. Hey! Luke dove behind a barrel as the blast tore through wood inches from his head. He rolled, fired once. The man dropped. The first attacker scrambled away, limping toward a tethered horse. Luke sprinted after him, tackled him hard, and pressed his boot against the man's throat. "Who hit the coach?" Luke growled. The man coughed, choking. We didn't mean to kill nobody. Just Robin, that's all." "And the girl?" Luke's voice was pure ice. "The blonde," the man wheezed. She wasn't supposed to get hurt." Luke leaned in closer. "Who gave the order?" The bandit squeezed his eyes shut. "Roy Callahan." Luke froze. Callahan. A name he'd prayed never to hear again. The outlaw who once terrorized every ranch this side of the Platte River. A man cruel enough to drag women from carriages and burn homes to ash. A man Luke had tried and failed to stop before. "He's in the canyon," the bandit whispered. "Camped with 6 others. He's got plans for that girl, if she's still alive." Rage struck Luke like lightning. He didn't kill the man. He wasn't that kind of monster, but he bound him tight enough to keep him helpless till morning. Then Luke rode hard toward the canyon. Back at the ranch, Evelyn woke with a sharp gasp, clutching her bandaged ribs. She looked around the quiet room, confusion clouding her eyes. Where? Then memory returned, the strong arms lifting her, the calm voice promising she was safe. Luke. Her chest tightened, not with fear, but something unfamiliar. Maggie hurried in. "You're awake, thank the Lord." "Where's Luke?" Evelyn whispered. Maggie hesitated. "He went after the men who hurt you." Evelyn's heart lurched. "No, he shouldn't. He could be killed." Maggie sat beside her, taking her hand. "Sweetheart, that man cares about you more than you realize." Evelyn looked down, her cheeks warming despite the pain. No one had ever fought for her before. No one had ever risked their life for her. Tears gathered, not from fear, but from something softer, something she'd only known in stories. Luke reached the canyon at dusk. A fire burned at its center, voices circling it. 7 men, their laughter rough, their guns gleaming in the firelight. Luke moved through the shadows like a hunting wolf. No plan, just determination, and a fury hotter than the flames. He climbed the rocks slowly, closer, closer. Then a voice rose above the rest, one Luke knew all too well, Roy Callahan, tall, scarred, a black hat pulled low. Luke steadied his breathing. This was the man responsible. This was the man who left Evelyn to die. Callahan kicked a burning log deeper into the fire. "Girl should have fetched good money. Shame she ran." Luke's vision blurred red. His fingers tightened around his gun. Then, a twig snapped behind him. Luke turned, too late. A rifle smashed into the back of his skull. White pain exploded. He dropped to his knees as Callahan's men swarmed him, dragging him into the firelight. A boot slammed into his ribs. Hands tore the guns from his belt. Callahan stepped forward, smiling. "Well, I'll be damned, Luke Harwood." Luke spat blood. "Coward!" Callahan laughed. "Came all this way for some mail-order girl?" Luke's jaw clenched. "She's worth more than you'll ever be." Callahan crouched close. "After I'm done with you, maybe I'll pay her another visit if she ain't dead already." Luke lunged, fury blazing. A rifle butt smashed into his back, slamming him into the dirt. Darkness closed in. Pain throbbed through every bone. Callahan's voice echoed faintly. "Tie him up. We'll finish this at sunrise." Luke tried to move, tried to breathe, tried to fight. Then everything went black. Back at the ranch, Evelyn bolted upright in bed, her heart pounding painfully hard. She didn't know why, she didn't know how, but she felt it. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. "Luke," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Please, come back." Thunder rolled outside, and somewhere deep in the canyon, Luke Harwood's life hung by a single thread.